Joining us today on Green with Envy, we have royalty in the building. So cue the trumpets, get the court jester. Joining us today here on Green with Envy, we are very lucky to have joining us at King Josiah 54, aka Josiah Johnson. What's going on, my guy?
What's up, fellas? Look, I'm just going, y'all know I'm a LeBron Lakers guy, but I pulled up, so let's keep it civil. Y'all seem, I did some vetting, checked out the pod and everything. Y'all seem cool, but, if we got to get to fisticuffs and get to squaring up and fading off, it's all good, too.
Oh, well, we're going to get in there, man. A lot of Lakers Celtics talks that we want to get into and LeBron talk. And this is the thing. So Greg and I talk about this a lot. There's a big anti-LeBron sentiment around most
No.
Celtics fans. And let's be real, he put an ass whooping on us when he was in the Eastern Conference for a while. We gave him the business to start, and then he overcame that. But this is not an anti-LeBron podcast. So we're going to talk more about that. But first, I want to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that you've been doing here, man. You got some really great podcasts right now, Out of Pocket with Zach Schwartz. And specifically, I want to talk a little bit about the newest podcast you're working on right now, No Chill with Gilbert Arenas. Tell us a little bit about how that came to be, and then what is it actually like working with Hibachi himself?
So I've been a fan of Gil's Pop for a long, long time. They were entering season 3 with the folks over at Fubo. Reached out. They were looking for a host. Me and Gil ended up chatting, connecting. And it's funny, man, Gil actually lives a street over from me. We both live in the Valley, both play high school ball in the Valley. So Gil was a year older than me. And, first time I saw Gil, I had to remind him. I was at Crenshaw High my freshman and sophomore year. So sophomore year, Gil's a junior. They play Crenshaw like first, second round of the playoffs. Gil comes in, drops like 40 and 3/4. But Crenshaw was historic for having this press that was literally unbreakable. Gil single-handedly coast to coast breaking the press. I'm like, who is this dude right here? He didn't play a lot of AAU. He wasn't a highly sought after recruit coming out. But then we crossed paths when I was at UCLA in Arizona, and then now we live in the same neighborhood. So I go on jogs around the neighborhood. I'd always see Gil pushing through in one of his fine luxury vehicles, and we'd kind of just give each other the black guy head nod and kind of keep it pushing. But it turns out he lives literally a street over, so it's super convenient. We tape a lot of episodes at his house. But Gil is honestly one of the most intelligent, just basketball savants. And you listen to him telling the stories, even, when he was in the league, got drafted in the second round, felt he should have been drafted higher. I do as well. But just spent a ton of time in the facility, consuming as much basketball as possible, working on his game, and now has a provision in the CBA because after those 2 years he had at Golden State, they couldn't afford to keep him. So he ends up going to Washington, gets a crazy contract. So just knowing Gil's story, all the amazing things he's about, and he's a student of the game. I tell him all the time he needs to be coaching, just the way he looks at things and views things. And he says, for people who don't look at Gil from a surface level, they misunderstand him and think he's kind of outlandish, and he is, but he's so intelligent. When you have a conversation with these dudes just on a spiritual and emotional level, like this dude just knows so much about the game, so much about the history of hoops, and even what's going on now. So just to be around him in his presence, man. And that's the thing, you see a lot of people that work in this space that haven't hooped in the NBA. And I try to come from it from a perspective of a fan. Like I played college basketball, never played in the league. So I'm never going to talk like I know what an NBA guy goes through. And that's something I really just impress upon Gil as we have guests on. So it's like, Gil, you and whoever the guests are, whether that's CP3, Kuz, DeMar DeRozan, guys we've had on this season, y'all know what it's like to be in the league. So I'm just going to really approach it from a fan, a quote-unquote casual NBA Twitter type of level, just to understand and look at you more as a human being and understand that, when I was in college, practices suck. So I can only imagine the NBA, the practice, the travel. Now you playing 82 games instead of like 35, just everything that goes in that world. And I think a lot of people now, especially in the fantasy era, look at these guys as like, they're just statistics. So how many points did this person give me in my fantasy and things like that without really understanding the human element of it. So just being around Gil, being able to hang out with him, do the show, we've had a lot of great episodes this season. So I'm looking forward to keeping the good times rolling, man. But he's just amazing dude, very opinionated. I love Gil because he's rich, right? And when you're rich, you can say whatever the fuck you want without a lot of backlash. Me personally, I'm not rich. So when he starts going on tangents or starts going at certain people, I'm sure you guys have seen some of the beef that he has going on. I'm always just like, look, I got to come in as a co-host. I don't want to get pulled into this beef. I'm just going to ask questions and try not to laugh when he goes on his tangents. But he's an incredible dude, and I have an amazing time working on the pod with him.
That's awesome, man. And for you referenced the beef that Gil has with other people, and I'm sure that a lot of people that are listening to our pod might only be familiar with Gil through like the viral clips that are going on social media. But if you're talking to somebody right now that's listening to our pod and they're like, maybe I want to go check out No Chill, what's an episode that they should start with?
Wow. I mean, I think the CP3 episode we did a little while ago. Master P episode was great too. Kuz episode was awesome. DeMar episode, if you're a Lakers fan, don't listen to. If you're a Bulls fan, definitely listen to. I mean, DeMar's on there like, yo, I thought I was coming to Lakers. They didn't really have the bread. And look, it was a tough offseason free agency for the Lakers. They didn't really have a lot of moves that they could have made based on just the constraints that they had. So bringing Westbrook in, I know a lot of Lakers fans aren't high on that move right now. I'm a UCLA guy, rock with Russ. So I think, he's a guy that's he always plays better as the season improves. We saw a great performance out of him this week against the Hornets, almost willing the team to victory without LeBron and AD. But yeah, I think, DeMar is a great episode. Really just understanding and learning about these guys from more than just the basketball and on the court stuff. But also, CP3 tells this great story about how when he was coming out to the draft, Gil came and worked out with him. Like, they got plugged up through an agent or whatever, or through a big time trainer back east. And, Gil pulled up and CP3 was just super appreciative of it. So CP3 passed it on, I think, with like Josh Hart and some other guys as they were coming into the draft. And just hearing stories like that from guys and just the camaraderie that these dudes have. Like, you hear about the rivalries, obviously Lakers, Celtics, things like that. But you also think a guy like Paul Pierce, who doesn't really get the love he deserves in LA, but he's from Inglewood. Like, me and Paul played in the same AAU program. He's a couple years older than me. So, you're watching the KG doc and they talk about, Paul and KG coming together. I was literally on like the 12 and under squad that year when KG pulled up to Vegas, and he was a superstar back then. But just the camaraderie that these guys have, despite playing on these different teams and stuff, they're all human and they really do rock with each other. Obviously there's beefs, if you're on Gil's IG at any point, you're going to see whether he's spelling out things with cash or anytime I tell Gil, anytime he has one of those elaborate ass captions, like it's like 18 paragraphs long. So I'm going to read every single fucking word in this thing because I know it's nothing but just game he's dropping.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about this, about the AAU program that you grew up in with Paul Pierce and KG, because as Celtics fans and for our listeners, as soon as the Big Three came, like that story has like almost like a legendary status within the fan base of like, KG and Paul, this isn't an accident. Like these guys have been boys for a while, and that's kind of like one of the pieces that's always crucial to it. And so I'm curious to know, what was your perspective on it? You said you were 12 or so they're probably what, like 17, maybe 17, 18. Tell me a little bit about that.
So, yeah, I think it was 17 and under at that point. This is like old school AAU before EYBL and all this shit's kind of taken over. So it was a lot more community-based. And that's the thing. You look at EYBL and all these leagues now, guys might be on a team representing a certain place, but they're coming from all over the country. This wasn't really going on back then. But KG, even back then, was a larger-than-life figure. Everybody knew about KG in the basketball community. Big 6'11" dude who was, I think, from South Carolina, ended up going to Chicago for his senior year. But I remember, I think we were it's like the Westgate now, but back then it was a Hilton. And I literally can remember all these moments. We're all in the lobby, the different teams. We've all taken the minivans out there. KG walks in, and I'm just looking at this dude like, KG funny, cool, but just like, oh, my God, this is the legend. And not really appreciating what I'm seeing with that squad. So we had KG and Paul Pierce were on the older team. I want to say Baron Davis and Kevin Bean Bradley, who was another great player, played college at Utah, went to Crenshaw, were on the younger team. So we're all like 11, 12 years old, hanging out with these dudes, Baron like bringing us to his room, and they're doing kind of, activity they shouldn't be, trying to get at girls and things like that. I mean, a funny story I'll share with y'all. We were in BD's room. They might have had a lady there or whatever that they had met on the strip or whatever, who was in their age range. Coach comes banging on the door. So we go hide in the shower. So we're literally like three of us huddled in the shower, like, oh shit, Coach opens the shower, like, you motherfuckers aren't playing tomorrow, like, woo, woo, woo. But he realized he needed us, so we all played. Like it was a hollow threat. But just those times. And then, going from our games and heading over, I think they were playing at like the UNLV smaller gym at that point, for everybody who knows kind of Vegas and the makeup and how things have changed. Like they're playing at like the practice gym, but the gym just packed to the ceiling with people in there. And KG just a beast, man. Insane. You look at KG and it's not new. Like KG with the cursing and all that type of shit. He was doing that back in high school. And just that energy that he had, man, you could just light up a whole room. But also, great guy off the court, cracking jokes, the big smile. So those are some of my best, formative years playing hoops. But like to get to see two dudes like that. So to your point, when they came back together on the Celtics, like, yeah, I'm not a Celtics fan, but I think anybody who can appreciate hoops appreciated that moment. That Big Three kind of launching this era. Yeah, it spurned some shit that obviously LeBron had to retaliate, go to Miami, and now we saw it with Golden State and now with Brooklyn. But that's a part of the game. And ultimately, I think these guys like each other and they want to play. Like, if you work in any other industry, you want to play with the best people, right? You want to work with the most talented people. So it should be no different in the game of basketball. It's sad is, when you're a Celtics fan, that happens. I'm sure you guys are like, shit, tough shit for y'all. Like, we're going to take this chip. But, when you're a LeBron fan or a Celtics fan and now the Warriors do it or the Nets do it, it's like, fuck, dog. Like, we want to get our big three back. But the game is the game.
So growing up, I know your father played in the NBA, but what would you say was your team up until LeBron went to the Lakers?
We were raised, honestly, sadly enough, as Clippers fans, and I think it was more just like Stockholm syndrome. My dad played for the Clippers, felt some loyalty to it, even though Donald Sterling was the owner. So, people get on me now like, oh, man, how'd you jump ship? It's like, look, man, if you would have dealt with the shit that we dealt with, my dad suffered a devastating neck injury that effectively ruined his career. Donald Sterling calling the house, cussing him out, threatening him with lawsuits. He's dealing with all this shit. He doesn't know if he's going to be able to walk. Paralysis is definitely, on the radar. He had to get Sterling trying to get a controversial neck surgery in the early 80s. But just the shit that was going on, and even knowing back then, I didn't really know as a kid Elgin Baylor was the GM. And I knew Elgin was a good player, but as I got older, started to do research, go back and look, and this was a super proud man that was literally, hamstrung working with the Clippers, trying to bring good players in, and Donald Sterling being the notorious cheap ass, never wanted to field a good product. You look at the story of Donald Sterling, and it's funny, Lakers fans will clown Sterling, but Sterling's the reason that the Lakers are who they are even. He gave Jerry Buss the bread to be able to afford to buy the team. He sees Jerry Buss win a championship in his first year. He's like, oh, fuck, how hard can this shit be? I'm going to go ahead and buy the San Diego Clippers. Then buys them and starts to realize, like, wait, I got to pay for socks and shoes and travel and all this other shit. I just thought, and he's basically like, well, fuck, how shitty can I make these teams to still turn a profit? So it was a tough situation being in LA during that time. But like I said, I'm LeBron over everybody. So as soon as LeBron came to the Lakers, as hard as it was, it's like, look, I'm rolling with LeBron. I've been rolling since 2003. I'm going to make this move. And, it's been great at times, been bad at times. But I think, the squad, I know you guys are going through it too on your side. Optimistic that hopefully we can right the ship. You have the talent that's there to do it. So hoping that they can figure that shit out, get it together, at least make some semblance of a playoff push so you can hold your head with pride on these NBA Twitter streets. Yeah,
I feel you on that. And, we kind of talked about this before we hit record, but we haven't really had much to root for this year as Celtics fans. So at least as Celtics fans, we can kind of look across the country and see the Lakers are struggling, and also look at the Lakers and be like, y'all don't even have any hope for future success. Your thoughts on that?
Wow. I mean, damn. See, now we got to really get into it. Look, I think the thing is, and I think LeBron made this point before the season started, but they could be like that Buck squad with Brady, have a rocky start, but end up still, reaching the highest level. As a basketball fan, you don't ever want to see that. I mean, we dealt with the same situation last year where they're the 7th seed, going in to play the Suns, about to take that 3-1 lead. Then AD suffers an injury. So you never want to be at the mercy of those type of situations. And it's just been tough because, we were spoiled during the bubble. It was one of the first times I saw a Lakers squad or a squad with LeBron where LeBron could go out the game and the squad could actually improve on leads or come back from deficits. It wasn't just I was joking about this the other day on my show with Out of Pocket. But it's when you're coaching camps back in the day and you got to pay kids equal minutes. You obviously front load your squad to go out there and get buckets. Then you put that shitty second team in just hoping that they hold on for dear life. I don't even need y'all to score. Just fucking stop them from scoring and taking the lead. But, that was the situation. Now it feels like we're kind of back in that, when LeBron's not playing, that's an L. What I mean? We had, it's just, you go into that game, it's no, it's not, oh man, they might be able to pull it out. We had our emotions played with against the Hornets and a few other times this year. And even when LeBron is playing sometimes this year, it's like, shit, that's going to be an L, unfortunately. We got to beat the KD and Kyrie-less Nets and things like that to get some hope. But you keep hoping that they'll figure it out. And everybody's kind of like, oh, wait till playoffs. But playoffs, so many variables. Like we saw last year, Lakers about to go 3-1, AD hurts the hamstring. They end up losing the series. Obviously, Suns go all the way to the finals. So as a Lakers fan, as a LeBron fan, knowing he's in year 19 now, getting old, you're kind of just like, fuck, dog. We don't really have a lot of more of these opportunities to let slip by. And you just look like, damn, if we would have got the Bucks in the finals, we're punking Giannis. That just to be real, LeBron not letting a Greek dude take his shine. But, this year it's been tough, but we're remaining optimistic. The squad hasn't been whole for the whole year. We're missing guys like Kendrick Nunn, Trevor Reeves finally getting back in the mix. Westbrook trying to kind of figure out where he fits into this three-headed monster. AD missing a significant amount of time. So it's tough because you want this squad to be at full strength like other squads you've seen, like Warriors. Obviously, Draymond's got an injury, but they started the season strong, ran out to that, big win streak. Same thing with the Suns. It's like, shit, we got to catch these dudes. And if there's one thing as a LeBron fan, you don't want to fucking see the Warriors in the playoffs if you can't beat them, because Warriors fans are going to be insufferable. for the next 12, 15 months, just reminding you and talking a bunch of shit and just irking you. So hoping that they can figure it out, get this squad right. Trade deadline's coming up, so we'll see if some moves are going to be made. But it's tough because the carrots are dangling out. I'm not going to say that they're the freshest. The freshest carrots, we as Lakers fans.
What you mean, Talon Horton Tucker in a pick in 13 years isn't going to get it done? What you mean? That sounds pretty appetizing.
But the thing is, bro, from the outside looking in, the Lakers have always pulled off these bullshit ass trades that, like, God, they almost did it with CP3 till David Stern stepped in and said, "Fuck that." Thankfully, the league owned the Hornets and were able to kibosh that one. But getting Pau Gasol, for his brother, Mark wasn't where he was at then. It was just like, man, what the fuck? How they get this bullshit ass trade off to get Gasol in, and just knowing what that meant. So I'm hoping the Lakers can put one of those trades out of their ass, get some crazy shit cracking, get Ben Simmons, for a pack of Swisher Sweets and THT. But also I get the feeling like the trade deadline's go past and shit's not gonna have happened. We're all just gonna be sitting there like, fuck, this is what we gotta roll with.
Yeah, so that Lakers grab bag, not sure what's gonna come of that. If anyone listening, when we're talking about that Pau Gasol trade, just type in Mark Gasol High School into Google. That's kind of more closer to the version of Mark Gasol that was being traded at that time than what he ended up being. So just for the record, got to go ahead and put that out there. But up until that last line, I was gonna say, Josiah, you actually sound a little bit more optimistic about this roster construction, and I was actually gonna ask you, whose fault is the roster construction? Is it because some people will say Pelinka is the technical GM, but some people will put that on LeBron, is that LeBron runs when LeBron's on your team, LeBron's basically your best player, your coach, your GM. That's the narrative that sort of fits it. So I'm curious to you, who do you think is actually running this roster? Is it Pelinka? Is it LeBron? A little bit of both?
I think it's a little bit of both. Obviously, you got Clutch, waiting in the wings, and people call LeBron. This is the things that really kind of make me laugh about just the community in the world that we live in the basketball space. You hear LeBron called le GM and things like that. But if you look at his track record as a GM, it's like shit. Like, when are you going to give him that GM title? After Miami? So that's 2 championships, multiple finals appearances. So, but it's like they hold him to standard like that's hating on him, or they call him a ring chaser. And it's like, who doesn't chase success? Like, who goes in the league like, fuck, I can't wait to get to the lottery. Can't wait to just have a terrible ass season so we get back. Like, no, I want to fucking get the players on my squad that can get me to excellence. But seen it too many times, we saw it reminds me kind of, I think it was like that 2017, 2018 Cavs squad where it was like IT3 and D Wade and all those guys. And the trade deadline was looming. And you're just like, yeah, motherfuckers, some of y'all ain't going to make it. Some of y'all ain't going to make it, but they still got that squad to the finals. So we'll see if some moves can be made. Jeremy Grant's been a name that's been tossed around. But it's funny, like, people just aren't fucking with the Lakers now. And where historically they would get those crazy trades going. I don't know if it was Magic working his charm or whatever. But, if you're going to give Pelinka the credit, if you're going to call him the executive of the year and things like that, then, yeah, he's the one that, quote unquote, is the de facto leader. Now, we don't know if this is like, some bullshit like America used to pull back in the day where they'd install the leader in the country, but really they're pulling the strings and LeBron's the one behind puppet mastering. But at the end of the day, Pelinka's the GM. Bron will tell you sometimes, personnel decisions and moves happen that he's not aware of. But it's funny, man, I had Kuz on the Gill show. And this is something that I asked him. I feel like some Lakers fans couldn't grasp. But I'm like, Kuz, LeBron makes personnel decisions. So when you find out he trades you, then the next day is like taking you to lunch and shit. Is there bitterness? I mean, it's kind of like if I have a boo and I break up with her for another chick, but he's the one who did it. But Kuz was super, super, super good about it. And it's like, yo, like, I understand it's a business. Like, my name's been floating around for a while. I thought I was going to get fucking traded for Buddy Hield. That's where I thought I was going. So to be able to go to the Wizards, get opportunity to get more shine and get more love, like, I can't be mad at it. Obviously, it's funny, man, when you leave the Lakers, like, I think the biggest issue was getting rid of Caruso. And they're seeing that now. They didn't want to break bread with Caruso. They thought it was just a gimmick. Bulls fans were clowning Lakers fans like, oh, this is bullshit. Y'all just gassing up this dude. Then Caruso goes to the Bulls and it's, oh, fuck, Caruso's the GOAT. And, oh, put a statue next to MJ. So that's a guy who, you really didn't, just the value is not going to really show up heavily in the stat sheet, but it's on the court being smart. And we're getting a lot of production like that out of Austin Reeves. But Austin Reeves is a rookie, so he's going to eventually hit that wall. There's only so much you can ask of him. Where Caruso was in his second, third year when he was really starting to shine, starting to understand the game. But I don't know, man. We're going, I know y'all going through it too, so we can use this as like a trauma session, therapy session, just because you have that squad when you got Tatum and Jaylen Brown and the pieces around, and it's just like, fuck, man. Can we have two of the most phenomenal young guys in the league, guys that are going to carry this torch to the next era? what's not clicking. But I know y'all not the only ones. Knicks fans are going through it right now. So as a Laker fan, like, yeah, it sucks, but when we can look over in Boston, we can look over in New York and see the same shit going on. It feels a little bit better. Like, all right, at least they're not killing and fucking just laughing at us.
Misery always loves company.
You know it.
Yo, so is Austin Reeves the dude who was in that viral clip with LeBron the other day where LeBron was like explaining something to him and he just like rolls his eyes? Do you have any context for what happened on that play?
Well, I mean, look, Austin Reeves is a funny dude. He's basically, we call him New Caruso. He's replaced he's come in and it's like, the Lakers have that white dude, going back to like the Mike Pemberthy days, Kurt Rambis, it's the guy, the white dude that's the fan favorite that people rock with. No clue what they were talking about, but I will say that he's come in. I mean, I saw him in Summer League and I was like, yo, this kid, I didn't think he was going to be this good, this fast, but like, yo, this kid can play. He was doing work out there and kind of, the thing about Lakers Nation, what people got to understand is we bully the greatness. So, you saw it with KCP, saw it with Kuz at times. Westbrook's getting it now. Like Lakers fans, when you're playing well, they will sing your praises. They will get your ass. Caruso almost made an All-Star game, off the fan vote. They'll fucking rock with you. But if you're not playing well, they're going to fucking clown. The memes are going to come out. And, I don't think any fan base is as hard on their players as the Lakers, but understandable. When you got 18 championships and everything that you've done, these are things that you expect. Like you're in Hollywood. Everything in Hollywood is big. You got Jack Nicholson sitting courtside. You got to put on a show, dog. You can't have Jack out there, take a time out of his schedule to put up some bullshit.
And with LeBron, what's funny about that clip to me? There's like that. I don't know if it's like a huge amount of people that believe this, but when LeBron talks, it's like really hard to read his lips. Like for whatever reason, you can never tell what he's saying. So I felt like that clip kind of played into that. It was like Austin Reeves was looking around like, I literally have no idea what he said. Like it had nothing to do with basketball. Like, what are you even talking about, dude?
No, you mean that's the thing too. You never know what these guys are actually talking about. He could be telling them some other random shit about Game of Thrones or some shit. Like they've been talking about whatever. Like I remember watching like a Floyd Mayweather fight back in the day. He was talking about like TV shows while he's boxing to the announcers because he can hear them talking. And it's like, oh shit! Like you never know what these guys got going on.
So to that point, has, working with Gil and having the guests that you have on, has that provided you, a new insight into how you're watching the games? Like you said, you played at a high level. You know a lot of these dudes from growing up and in various areas, but you never played in the NBA, to your point earlier. But now you're with Gil, kind of pulling back the curtains a little bit. You're getting this great insights from Kuz and DeMar and stuff like that. Has that changed a little bit of your own watching habits and what you're seeing out there?
So this is what I'll tell you. One show that really changed my whole opinion and perspective was the CP3 show. And, CP3 had a reputation of being an asshole, being this, being that. Sat CP3 down, interviewed for about a good hour, 15 minutes, really started to understand his dynamic. And he's like, you look at him, he's got the Mamba mentality, just the things that you want out of winners. I don't ask guys to do anything I'm not going to do. I don't demand any more of guys than I'm going to put in. But also, like, if you're not putting in that work, I'm going to fucking let you know about it. So from the outside looking in, CP3 would rub guys the wrong way with his leadership style. And I feel like it was the same way that they looked at Jordan and Kobe. And obviously CP3 doesn't have the championship hardware that those guys have. But when you go back and look at his career, even like, young days, the shit he was able to accomplish in AAU, then won a national championship. When he was at Wake Forest, I think they led him to the first #1 overall ranking in school history and things like that. Like, this is a guy, the story about his grandfather back in the day, him dropping 60 and missing the last free throw just to honor his like this is a guy who loves the game and works really hard. So just understanding that side of it, the stuff that these guys see and the stuff that we at home, we'll try and use like analytics and things like that to help understand better guys' values and shit. But, like KD said, nobody wants to like talk about graphics when you talk about basketball. We're not trying to look at graphs and shit. And that stuff is great for after the fact, right? But when you're in the heat of the game, you're trying to, work on those things and get guys to their spots where they can score one, all that good type of shit. But that's not going to tell you some of the other variables, the nuance, the context, that this guy might not like that other guy because they both dated the same girl and he has a mental stigma over him that nobody else in the league has, or, just things like that. Or like when Andrew Wiggins plays, the Raptors or plays against the Timberwolves, he's going to bust their ass. Or also when he plays against LeBron because he holds that grudge for Bron fucking, not hollering at him after he was the #1 overall pick by the Cavs and just dumping his ass to Minnie. So guys have different things, like even Gil, like, Gil when like Kobe's guarding him, Kobe's guarding most guys are shook. Gil when Kobe's guarding him, like, I'm about to drop 60 on your ass. Like, that's just how I look at the game, but I might not be able to drop 60 on another dude who for some reason is annoying as shit when he's guarding me and I just can't figure it out. So it's a lot of,
or some shit like that.
Just some random shit like that guys get in your head like, but how fuck? It was like when Steph used to guard LeBron all the time back in the day, LeBron had this mental hurdle he couldn't get over where, like, he couldn't score on Steph. He's shooting fadeaways and doing dumb shit. Then eventually around like 2016, it started to kind of shift. And he's like, I can just back this motherfucker down and score. But you would see those type of things. I would know, like, damn, Steph guarding LeBron outside the key. It's like, fuck, he's not going to score now. But meanwhile, fucking whoever, Bam or whoever's guarding him, big-ass scary motherfucker, oh, head down, steamroll straight to the cup. So just the different things that you see in the game as you kind of learn and analyze. But working with somebody with Gil, that's why I always come with kind of my preconceived thoughts or notions, like, yo, Gil, but I'll just ask, like, does this make sense? That makes sense? He's like, no, like, fucking do this, that, whatever. And not to say Gil's always 100% right, but that's somebody I'm like, Gil, you're a known bucket getter. I've seen you get buckets since you were like 14, 15 years old and do it at every level, high school, college, pros, consistently. Like, you're a guy that I'm going to listen to. It's even somebody like Gil. You know, you go back to that game against LeBron. LeBron whispered in his ear, and Gil missed the 2 free throws. Like, that's not typical of Gil. So whatever LeBron told his ass then, you know, did something to him that made that happen. But Gil's a dude who's fucking heard everything under the sun. Obviously, we know the different situations he's been in. He's not one who gives a fuck. You know what I mean? Like, he's going at Kwame. I don't give a, you know what I'm saying? Like, Gil's like, I'm like, yeah, dog, you're not worried. I don't give a fuck. like whatever, you know, like, you know, like, you're not going to talk to your captain like that. And I'm just like, hey, all right, let me be the voice of reason, but ultimately, like, you're gonna do what you want to do, and I'm just happy to be here, and I want to keep my job, so I'm gonna play my position.
I love that. And you mentioned Wiggins earlier, man. What do you think, like, the players around the league right now? Is there any chatter about Wiggins becoming a first-time All-Star starter? Like, are people pissed off about this?
This is funny. Me and Gil did a show a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, look, Wiggins is an All-Star. You know, just based on the way he's playing, his true shooting percentage is off the chart. Contribution defensively, he's a number 1 pick, so you never can label the guy as a bust. He's had a solid NBA career, not just blowing you away with obviously a number, but consistently around like 20 and 6, for his whole career. Just a guy that plays hard and performs well. Obviously had the stigma in Minnesota, but as he's gone now to a good team, even when he first came, I think there was some kind of negativity surrounding that. It was almost like, oh, he's just going to be here for a year or two. He's going to be a great trade piece. And look, the trade deadline's coming up. That very well may be possible. But I think he brings a lot to the squad. And I really, it's a testament, I think, to Steph, Clay, Draymond, that whole crew, and just the way that they bring guys in and expect you to understand that winning formula and winning mentality. And you look at that squad last year, they were kind of boo-boo. But without Wiggins, they would have been nowhere near as good as they were. So, him coming this year, playing strong, Warriors obviously top 2 in the West, think he deserves a nod. Yeah, is it egregious? I think the fan vote is definitely something that we need to look at. Or we just don't need to hold all-star games with the same esteem that we hold, all-NBA. Like, and I always kind of joke, like, All-Star game is like the best half season. Like, that doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever. Imagine they did that in football. Like, oh, we're going to do an All-Star game for who had the best first 8 games of the season. It's like, that shit don't make no sense whatsoever. It's a good break. It's a good whatever. But, anytime you're arguing basketball with somebody and they start talking about All-Star game appearances, you're dealing with a human being that you probably should just tap out at that point. Because
they went to Basketball Reference, saw the first thing at the top, and that was the argument right there for them.
And it's like, it's cool. Like, LeBron made 18 straight All-Star games. Great. Congrats. But it's also fan vote. You're popular. Yeah. But, you're your most popular player in the league. Your jersey sales are the highest. Like, of course, you're going to get that vote. Like, when Caruso almost makes an All-Star game as a starter, like, the NBA had to pull the plug and, like, hold the fuck up.
Well, hey, man, what we got to do is we got to get you a global ambassadorship somewhere because these K-pop dudes are coming in, and that's how they're getting Andrew Wiggins in here. The K-pop stands are coming out left and right, getting those retweets.
Look, I got to give up to the K-pops. If not for the K-pop stands, we may not have the country we have now. And look, we all know how shit was a couple years ago. K-pop stands came through, bought up a bunch of tickets for events they were not going to go to and shit like that. So got to give them love on that side. But yeah, you see the damage that social can do when those type of things come in. But obviously, when it benefits your team, you love it. When it doesn't, you're pissed off about it.
Yeah. What are some of the other storylines that you're looking at? We're always talking about the Lakers. We just hit a little bit about the All-Star game. What are some of the other storylines that actually just interest you the most right now around the NBA?
I mean, these fucking Grizzlies, man. I think, Ja Morant, the thing about Ja's name to mention in the MVP conversations, deservedly so. But this squad has performed well even without him. I think they were like 11-2 at one point this season without him. And that's just a testament to their ability to really go out there and play and hustle and work hard. But also you look at the squad and it's like, all right, they might be able to perform during the regular season, but are they a team that you're going to be afraid of in the playoffs? And they kind of are in that Utah Jazz range for me. Jazz always got a strong squad, but when you see them in the playoffs, not like, I'm welcoming that matchup. I'm afraid. Damn, we got to face the Jazz. Well, there's squads like the Suns, Warriors, where no matter where the Warriors are, you're gonna be nervous like playing them. Same thing kind of with the Lakers. And just looking at, I'm a big Lakers guy, and that's my squad, and that's who I rock with. So just seeing that squad and hoping like how's this gonna go? Obviously under 500 right now. Are they going to turn? We keep hoping for this, 5-10 game winning streak. Keep hoping this thing's going to happen, and it keeps not happening. And you just go back and look at some of the games they've tricked off earlier in the season. Like, damn, these games are going to really bite them in the ass. Come this playoff push. Losing to the Rockets, I think losing to the Thunder. Losing to the Kings and shit. It's just like, we lost to the Kings. I'm saying like double, triple overtime, and you're like, God damn, you spending all that energy. That's going to fuck up the next 3 or 4 games to take an L. These are things you can't really have in a season like this. Thankfully, we're back to 82 games. They have a little bit more leeway and flexibility and room to maneuver. But, yeah, it's going to be tough, man. And then just looking at this whole Kyrie situation where, first Nets were like, yeah, fuck that. We're going to hold firm. You can't play. Season that doesn't go their way they want. All right, fuck it. You can come play road games. Like, we'll make that happen. I feel like we're going to get to the point where he can come play home games. I don't know if he's going to get vaxxed up or what, but I just feel like there's going to be this turn. And they're just really going to turn it on. It's kind of like they're doing the rope-a-dope right now to bring back Muhammad Ali, up against the ropes, whatever. But now, as soon as we get our big three that really, hasn't a lot of time to play together this year, they're going to be a fucking problem to deal with. And then also the Bucks, man. I think the Bucks are one of those squads where last year, people could say that they think it was a fluke or whatever. My dad actually works for the Bucks right now. And that's, Budenholzer does a great job with that squad. Giannis, but only like 26 still, is just like, God damn, the way his game has improved, especially just to think he didn't start playing until he was like 14. A lot of people don't realize he's still getting better. Like, he's still learning the game. I started playing basketball when I was 4 years old. So by the time I'm 15, 16, I'm going to get better athletically, but I've learned enough about just the game and the nuance and how it works. He's still really learning on the fly. And, if once he gets a consistent jump shot, that's going to be a fucking problem because that's now unstoppable. That's like what LeBron kind of looks like now in year 18, year 19, where, from years past, LeBron's jumper was a little shaky. As a LeBron fan back in the Miami days and kind of, Cleveland days, he would shoot jumpers. You were like, yeah, Chief, just barrel to the basket. Now we got the fuck you threes and all that type of shit going on. He's shooting at a high level. So it's going to be interesting, man. I think the season is going to be one of the most unpredictable seasons I think we've seen in a long time just because there's a lot of good squads, even the Celtics, that are better than what their record indicates. So you're just kind of hoping that, all right, are they going to figure this shit out? And you have to be optimistic at least that, they're going to make some semblance of a push. And even if they get in that top 10, that there's room to move. All you got to do now is just make that top 10 to be able to playoff eligible. So,
yeah,
there's hope. There's hope to do it. Now, I don't think a 10 seed will ever beat a 1 seed, but, we've seen crazier shit in life.
So you mentioned how your dad works for the Bucks. What has he told you in your conversations with him about what makes Giannis special?
Giannis. So my dad has this story that he's told. Milwaukee, as you guys know, cold as shit. I'm sure it's like Boston. Cold as fucking all hell. But like Giannis had a bad game, and my dad was staying at a hotel right across from the practice facility. So he's like super early in the morning. He sees this shadowy figure, shorts in the fucking snow, just trudging into the gym to get that work in. And Giannis puts in the work. He's mature as shit. He just has a great, unique perspective about the game. Not a guy, and not to say this is wrong, everybody's different, but you're not a guy you're going to see out partying at the club all the time and doing all that type of shit. Really loves basketball, wants to get better, wants to put his heart and soul into it. Talking about a guy who had the opportunity to leave Milwaukee. And not to say Milwaukee's not a great city. It is. I've been there a few times. It's much better than other cities like Cleveland, I could be real about. But, not a place that if you could play in fucking LA, Miami, Golden State, New York, these are more desirable locations for all the financial opportunities they bring, and all that other type of shit. But committed to the Bucks, stayed in the city, and just a stand-up dude, a great guy, loves the community, loves hooping, and somebody really loves the game. It's tough when you give guys a shitload of money, right? It can be hard, right? You've seen it. Guys get those big deals, stop giving a fuck. It's, you get that 150 million. It's like, I don't want to live today. I want to go do whatever. I don't want shit. Let's go take a vacation. But Giannis, the guy, gets that bread and is committed. And, feels just a sense of pride. So if you know Giannis, know his story, you read his book, Mir Fader wrote a great book about him and just the shit he dealt with back in Greece, this really isn't difficult for him. Imagine being, 5-6 brothers in a 2-bedroom and, the shit they had to deal with in Greece on the streets, selling watches and DVDs and shit. This ain't hard shit for him. Like going, playing against KD or whatever to Game 7 isn't the hardest shit he's dealt with in life. So he just has that confidence and that ability. And I think that game for him was was life changing. Winning that game. I remember watching that game. It was literally my niece's graduation. We come home into the fourth quarter. My dad wasn't working the game because it was a national game, but we're watching in the house. KD has the ball down too. It's like shit. It's like it's over. Like even my dad, like motherfucker KD, because we know KD's not going for a 2 willingly. He's gonna try to shoot a 3 and he's not gonna miss. Thankfully, his big ass foot was on the line. They were able to squeeze out that win. Beat the Hawks in the ECFs, and the rest is history. But that squad, we'll see. They hadn't won a championship in 50 years. We'll see if it's a fluke or not. But I wouldn't just write off the Bucks right now. I think they're a team that plays well. Got some good guys, some good pickups in the offseason. So don't just count them out.
Yeah, it's Giannis is such a hard dude to find like too many faults with, and I even just think of the clip that went viral a couple days ago of after they lost in Cleveland, and my guy pulls up eating a bucket of chicken, and he's just like, "Yo, we suck tonight," and it's just like, yo, he's so in like even in a game where you coming from the LA and Boston markets, like guys would get roasted, get crucified for coming out with like kind of like I don't want to call it nonchalant because the dude clearly cares more than a lot of people, but it's just to your point of everything you just said, like. Yo, he knows real life pressure. Like real life pressure is not a 17-point loss to the Cavs on, a January. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just really interesting to see the different dynamic from that. And, with your dad having worked with him, how does that like view for you change the NBA? Meaning like how much pressure and scrutiny there is in the markets that we're fans of, Boston and LA, and guys that can kind of operate in that in-between space like Giannis.
Well, I mean, they live a comfortable life from that standpoint. So a lot of benefits playing a big market, obviously more fans, more financial opportunities, but a lot of negative, like you mentioned, like, yeah, more fans. That means you have a bad game. That's more fans that are on your ass. And these fans are witty, creative. They don't have any fucking shame. They'll fucking come at, whatever. They'll disrespect you.
They got people like you on Twitter roasting them.
But see, I even, like, to be real, like, I've kind of really just appreciated the mental health component side of that. So I try to bring everything from a more lighthearted, good-spirited way. I used to be petty and mean-spirited like that shit. But then, guys like Steph start following you. Guys like KD start following you. And it's like, well, fuck, I can't get these KD jokes off. I can't get, because if I get the KD joke off and he sees it, he's going to get his joke off, and I'm sensitive, and he's going to fucking demoralize me. Like, there might not be no coming back.
You're going to get hit by every burner account, too. Every burner account is coming for you, too.
Just coming at you. So, but yeah, man, I've come from a space now where it's like I respect these guys, and like these guys see it, I want it to be funny. But when you're playing in those small markets, yeah, you get to kind of circumvent a lot of that shit just from the sheer standpoint that, even when you look at like a Bucks Suns finals, that's not the sexiest finals. That's, from a viewership component, whatever, like, yeah, we'll watch it because we love basketball. But, when you get like a Lakers Celtics finals or a Lakers Nets finals, what those tickets are going for on StubHub. Like, motherfucker, you pay at least $1,500 for the nosebleeds, where it's a Bucks Suns. Like, I can fucking squeak out for maybe $500-$600 to get a pretty good seat to this motherfucker. Like, it ain't gonna be that level of fanfare, hype, and hysteria around it. Where the casual fans who aren't necessarily even really basketball fans, but just love good storyline and shit are gonna come out. But nonetheless, man, I think playing in any market, you appreciate the opportunity, and you deal with media, right? You're gonna deal with haters, critics, and honestly, it may even be worse, to be real, playing in a smaller one, because those things are gonna sting a lot more when a guy in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel or whatever's coming at you versus somebody where it's like big mainstream shit that you don't give a fuck. Like, I don't give a fuck about Stephen A. Smith or Skip. Like, those dudes are clowns. We're like, damn, this dude, this really hurts. Like, shit. Like, this really,
Yeah, for sure. And somehow we made it like 35 minutes without really mentioning Twitter. And, and you're kind of known as the king of NBA Twitter. So I just want to talk about Twitter for a second, right? You've gained a huge following on Twitter. But are there any other people on Twitter who you kind of respect how they navigate that platform? And what is it about them that's kind of caught your attention?
Oh man, so many. I just love the way that this NBA Twitter community, and I tell people this, like, I've been able to get a tremendous amount of opportunities, even hosting a show with Gil, off of leveraging those things. And I just tell people, like, you got to leverage the resources that you have. You can't make excuses for, people look at me like, oh, your dad played in the NBA and that's the only reason this, that, or whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, a lot of fucking people's dads play in the NBA and they ain't doing this shit. So that's like, whatever excuses you want to make for whatever. It's like me saying, well, fuck, if I was 7 feet, I could do that. Well, I'm not. So fucking figure that shit out. But just to see, I'm just, it's like everybody has somebody that has more resource or whatever than them, but what are you going to do to get past that? But people like, when I look at the community, people like M. Grass, who's a good friend of mine, and, guy that he has a lot of controversial takes and opinions people come after. Guys like Trevor Trout, former USC football player, only 22 years old, but, he put this group together called Elite, this group chat that has like me, KD, Kendrick Perkins, just a crew of just legends, all from the brainchild of Trevor, who's like, me and Trevor link up and just he loves hoops. Like, he would DM me a couple years ago about Cade Cunningham before, Cade was at the level he was at now. And I'm just like, how the fuck do you know all this shit about the high school circles, whatever? But he's just super tapped in. People like Jasmine O. Watkins, who, does a great job with the memes and just presenting stuff from a different light and different perspective. Obviously, Taylor Rooks, who I get to work with NBA Twitter Live. People like yourself, Channing Frye, who's another guy who, these guys like RJ Channing, the Arizona guys, Gil, that whole crew, they're just funny as fuck. Like, and it's great to talk to those guys and know I'm at a UCLA there or AZ, but we're dealing with a lot of the same shit in college and even after college that they go with. But the community, man, is grown so much. And now there was a point when NBA Twitter first started that a lot of people were faces. Obviously, Dragonfly Jones can't do a show without mentioning him. LeJethro Jenkins, another guy who I really look up to. Dragonfly and LeJethro are really the reason that I even move like this. I saw how those guys were on Twitter. I just thought they were so cool. And I'm thinking guys are cool that I don't even know clue who they are, that you meet in real life. I'm like, yeah, you motherfuckers are cool as shit. And but this is the world. Even people like yourself, like, y'all reach out and I'm on your pod within a week. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, this is what the world is. Like, you have so many talented people that are trying to do it. And for me, I just embrace the community. So even though y'all are a Celtics pod, normally I would have just deleted that shit and be like, nah. I'm just like, I don't know, let me vet. All right, they're a cool Celtics pod. They're not the one that's going to try and fucking just shit all over me and tell me I'm a piece of shit and fuck you and all that type of shit. So I can rock with you. But there's just a huge community now, and it's great. And shout out to TJ Adeshola and the whole crew at Twitter Sports for really embracing this community, really building this thing out. There's not really another sports community like NBA Twitter, just to be real, and the magnitude that it has. A guy like KD will pull up to Twitter Spaces for random people and stay on for an hour, talk the game, talk life, and really having – obviously there's a lot of toxic negativity and other shit in this space as well that we all deal with, and I'm hoping that a lot of that improves because you got to put faces to these people, you know what I'm saying? Like, one thing I say about myself, if you see a tweet from my account, it came from me. Like, I'm not going to jump on no burner and talk no shit or whatever. So I try to keep it respectable because also, like, I know, like I said with Katie earlier, people see you in real life. Like, motherfucker wishes cancer on my family or tells me I hope my kids die or some shit like that. I'm going to remember that shit. And when I see you, it's going to be a fucking issue, right? There's just things you're not going to say like that are just, oh, we're going to slip that under the rug and act like that's not a big deal. So I try to keep it respectful and lighthearted. And ultimately, like, you guys are Celtics fans. I'm a LeBron Lakers fan. You guys are probably good dudes. Like, you guys, you have other things that we can relate and connect with on. I'm not going to be mad or fight you over your basketball take or over your team allegiance. It's like, shit. I just respect the game. You know what I mean? Like, oh, fuck, you a Celtics fan. I can't talk to you. Like, what? Who gives? Like, that's like the least of, like, I would never be like, oh, I can't fuck with this person because of their basketball opinions. They don't think LeBron's the GOAT, so I can't be friends with this guy. Like, who gives? Some of my best friends are fucking LeBron haters. And for me, it's like, as long as you crack me up and your points are fucking researched and nuanced, like, yes, I'm going to counter, and that's just how this game goes. I'll never say that you're right if you tell me MJ's the GOAT or whoever. But more power to you, you know what I'm saying? Like, we all have our own unique experiences. So just to see the way that the NBA Twitter community, man, has grown and flourished, and now people are getting opportunities. People like yourself starting great podcasts to really talk about your love of the game, your love of your squad. It's a tremendous thing for me. So I encourage all that shit, man. I'm always one that just tries to uplift and be positive. It's like, everybody, man, come do this shit, whatever you like, and just learn the game. And also learn that as you start doing this shit, it ain't going to be positive. For me, when my account was smaller, it was more friends and family. So the shit I said didn't really mean a lot of backlash. Now I got to be super strategic in everything I say because, if I just put up an opinion, it's like, well, how come you put a fucking joke up? Like, I don't care about your regular opinions. Like, whatever, I just got to be, like, mindful how I move. Or if I put up some shit that's not – I know I have haters that, a good percentage of my followers hate me. So I got to make sure whatever I put up, it goes viral, so I can't even see their negativity. Because if I put some weak shit up, they're going to fucking rip it to shreds, and then I'm going to be sensitive for the rest of the day.
So real quick, we want to put you through what we call our Green with Envy 60-second fast break. Before we get there, I got to ask you, man, you want something like Adam Schefter shit? You got like 6 phones that are just attached at the hip? Because there's not many people that got, quicker Twitter fingers out there than yourself. Like, anytime something breaks, especially in the NBA or if it's pop culture, and let's just focus on the NBA for now, there's 3 things I'm looking for: a Woj bomb, a Shams bomb, and something from King Josiah is coming out in some type of order. Those are the 3 things that are hitting. So tell us a little bit about what your process is to be always so on top of the moment.
I just, honestly, I'm old. So I'm an old washed individual that spent a lot of time consuming a lot of media, and I just have a deep memory bank and a deep library. But a lot of times I'll test the water. I'll post a tweet 4, 6, 8 weeks in advance of something that I see coming just to see what the reaction will be like. Knowing, all right, 6 to 8 weeks from now, when it's really time to use this shit, it's going to fucking explode. So people will be like, oh, you recycle or you do this, you do that. I look at myself more as like a DJ, right? I'm at the club. I'm gonna play the song to get the whole party turned up. Like, so if there's a perfect meme for that moment, make that meme perfect. And to your point, I see Woj, I see Shams, I see Worldwide Wob. They have their lanes fucking covered. I'm not gonna fucking clip off content and put it up faster than Wob. I'm not gonna break news faster than Woj, but I can get these fucking jokes off faster than these guys. And when you see a moment all happen, like we're all watching a national game, or the game last night, MJ walks out. I wasn't watching it live. I was watching Spectrum. My home station, but I start getting tagged in a bunch of tweets. Like, I know you're going to do something with that MJ. And it's like, okay, right away, you know what people are buzzing and talking about. So that's why I love Twitter as a platform, especially because you can't really get that type of love on IG and shit. You can just see in real time, within a minute of putting a tweet up, how people are responding and reacting to it.
Dope, man. We really appreciate that. And we can't let you get out of here before we put you through what we call the Green with Envy 60-second fast break. So pretty much what's going to happen here, myself and Greg, we're going to go back and forth asking you quick hit questions. Yes, no, name this, name that, pick this, finish this sentence, real quick answer, 60 seconds back and forth. And then we're going to break off these little clips, trap you into takes that you didn't mean to commit to. And then we're just going to put them all over the internet. You down with that?
I already know. But look, run your numbers up. Because if I say this shit, thank you for preparing me in advance. I wouldn't have gave you all that heads up. I would have just put you in that fire and been like, oh, that motherfucker said whatever is going to happen.
Yo, we're peacemaking out here. Celtics and Lakers, we can be friends too. So it's a friendly warning. But
Josiah, we literally, the other night, our buddy F.A. Osifo, shout out F.A., was in town. And we actually live in Austin, Texas. So he was visiting us here in Austin, Texas. And we told him that you were going to be on the pod. And he was super excited because he's a Lakers fan, bro. Like, we went out to dinner with the Lakers fan like 3 nights ago. So this is all love, bro. It's all love, 100%.
I hope it was some barbecue if y'all in Austin.
Yeah, I suggested that. We ended up going with Mexican, but Tex-Mex Mexican right there. Exactly.
Tex-Mex or barbecue is either one of those. You can't go wrong.
All right, well, let's get this cracking here. We're going to put 60 seconds on the clock, and by that I mean I've got my highly advanced cell phone in my hand. We're going to go ahead and put 60 seconds on. Greg, I'm going to let you start it in 3, 2, go.
First word that comes to your mind when you hear the name Kwame Brown.
Damn. I can't. What you want me? I'm not getting my ass whooped. I can't fight like that. I'm not trying to fight Kwame. I don't have the arsenal that Gil has. I don't have. We know Gil's bringing. Okay.
All right. We'll go to the next. We'll go to the next one. Who smokes the most weed in the NBA?
Hopefully Clay. Hopefully Clay didn't let that bullshit in college stop him from hitting that. And if you watch Clay's IG video, he's hitting something. And he's in the Bay. They got some good fire. Not better than LA, but close.
Rank these deaths in terms of emotional impact. Wallace in The Wire, Ricky from Boys in the Hood, G Baby in Hard Knocks.
Oh, so Ricky, just because obviously that was a tough one for everybody, and we knew it was going to happen. Anytime I watch Boys in the Hood, I got to skip over that part. Then G Baby, of course, just because he was so young and had so much life to live. And then Wallace in The Wire. You're dealing with that world, and Wallace was weak, unfortunately. I'm just sad that Bodie and Pooh had to do it to him like that. But that's tough. If you're weak, you out here snitching and shit, you're not gonna make it long.
What's your all-time favorite meme to use?
Probably Omar from The Wire walking down, the little apartment complex and everybody just scatters out. I think one of my favorite scenes in TV history. And shout out to Michael K. Williams, rest in peace.
One more question. How long does Wallace survive if he isn't killed at the end of that season?
Maybe a couple more years. He could just if he had to get out, if he could escape like Naaman and get, into a better life, but that's just not realistic. So he was, them streets were unforgiving.
Yeah, Wallace wasn't meant for them streets. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
You already know.
Well, yo, man, we appreciate the time that you give us today. You talked about kind of the influence of Twitter and how cool it is that you can link up with people like this. The way that you utilize your platform, obviously, I was drawn to you for the jokes you crack, but the way that you utilize the platform you have is something that, keeps it hanging around. It's really cool to be able to connect with you. I know we talked a little bit about some of the podcasts that you're on. Everybody knows where to find you on Twitter, but you're so versatile, so multi-talented. Tell us a little bit about some of the other projects that might be out there that maybe people aren't aware about that they need to be checking out.
Look, you're going to see them show up on my Twitter when they happen, but, just follow me on King Josiah on Twitter, IG, and appreciate you to Wave, Fubo, Turner, and NBA Twitter Live for giving me opportunity to get some burn and feed my children, and I'm just going to keep grinding. I suggest that y'all do the same as well.
Appreciate you, my guy. Greg, give us any last final thoughts, and then let us know what we're going to hear at the outro of this podcast.
All right, I just appreciate you coming on, bro. And everyone that's listening, we are going to hear a song from my band down here in Austin, Texas. We are called Black Sheep Optimists, and this one is called The Path. Peace.
Peace.